Hello and welcome everyone to Talking Technophobia in Film, where you say crazy like it's a bad thing, and I am Professor Movies. Welcome back everyone to season 3. We're going to kick off with a movie I've never spoken about before, probably, 1931's horror classic, Frankenstein. In season 3, our theme is monsters and madmen. We're going to take a look at the idea of the mad scientist, and some other things, right? And we're going to track how they evolve and change over the generations, and how that's reflections of those cultures at the time. So what you can all do now, you want to make sure you get out your, Google calendars, Apple calendars, whatever you got, and maybe save the dates. Also, reminder, right? Talking Technophobia is proudly sponsored by the intelligent and amazing people at LMC Media. And if you haven't yet become a member, I strongly recommend you do so. Here's our agenda for the evening. We're gonna kind of go over the brass tacks of it, the ins and the outs, those details that might be important to establish a baseline. Then we'll take a look at some of my thoughts around monster as metaphor, right? Because I really think horror movies, often the monsters are symbolic, right? There is usually an extended metaphor in play. And we'll see what's going on here with this one. And then some of our topics for discussion tonight, we'll look at the mythology of mad science. We'll open up Dr. Spock's book and learn a little bit about parenting with Dr. Frankenstein. And then we'll take a look at the film's final warning and what its ultimate message ends up being, and what that has to do with morality. As always, our guiding question, thing I want you constantly thinking of as you go throughout your day, but especially tonight, what does Frankenstein show us about film, culture, and technology, right? How does it reflect and project? And as always, right, we are better when you share your ideas. We are stronger, we are more intelligent, and it's a little bit more fun, right? So don't forget to use the raise hand icon, right? If you want to be unmuted and say something. And as always, right, like feel free to abuse that chat feature. You can have some running commentary, or you can answer some questions there, right? I'll continually try to draw my attention and keep checking that. Here's our poster, right? Some vibrant colors, right, for our black and white film. There's some shots on your left and some behind the scenes makeup photos on your right. So Frankenstein, 1931, directed by James Whale, adapted from Mary Shelley's novel, but also this film version, the screenplay, comes from a stage play that's much closer to what we see with this movie than what we see with Shelley's book. But we'll talk about her book a little bit, I'm sure. Screenplay by Fort and Farrago, released in November 1931. Colin Clive, May Clark, John Bowles, and of course, the man of a million faces, the very talented, very frightening Boris Karloff. One of the things I love about the opening credits for this movie is, the monster question mark, right? They don't credit him in the opening credits, and I like that. It keeps it mysterious. A good horror movie, if anybody's taking notes, right? You want to keep that monster hidden as long as you can. You don't want to show it too soon. Kind of spoils the whole thing. You need, the promise of something scary. Right? You want to keep dangling that. So I want to remind you, 1931, right? We're 2 years into the Great Depression. So this is a pretty expensive film for the time, $262,000. And yeah, a huge box office success for the time, going on to gross $12 million. It is loosely based on Shelley's novel. As I said, it's more in line with the stage adaptation that ran a few years prior. And one of the things with Shelley's novel that really always sticks in my mind, because it's absent from the movie, right? With the movie, we have, the man who made the monster. But with Shelley's book, the subtitle is A Modern Prometheus, or The Modern Prometheus. And there is that mythological backbone to this movie, this kind of story, and stories like it. There's definitely some Prometheus in here, some Pandora, some Icarus too, I would say. Okay, so this movie kind of starts one of our first Hollywood film franchises, right? It goes on to, we got Bride of Frankenstein, House of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, and then they get blurry. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, I'm sure, Frankenstein and Dracula go to the discotheque. I don't know. But fun fact, I have never seen any of them. I have seen this movie probably close to 50 times, I would say, and that's probably downplaying it because I don't want to embarrass myself. But just the other night, I was telling someone how I haven't, seen Bride of Frankenstein, and maybe I should give it a watch because it has largely the same cast. Colin Clive returns, Boris Karloff, and seeing how that adventure continues is all I've always wondered. All right, so this movie is pre-Hays Code. So it's initial, like The Shining, right? This is a movie where it undergoes some edits after the initial release. This movie undergoes a lot more edits than The Shining, which gets its ending cut. Frankenstein has numerous things cut from pretty much almost every scene, which you may not know. What you might know is about the two scenes that were discovered and restored later on, decades later. The scene with, the creation of the monster, and also the scene with the drowning of the little girl, right? Those scenes, if you've seen them, right, and the version I shared with you on Google Drive is those versions, that's only really a fraction of what is missing from the movie. A lot was cut and lost. So we'll talk about some of that a little later. All right, so now it's time for the fun stuff. I don't know if you knew this, but Talking Technophobia, we're 2 years old now, right? We've been doing this. I'm really impressed. They said it couldn't be done. They said after Jurassic Park, that was it. You can't keep doing this. Who's going to want to talk about technology over and over and over again? Well, we proved them wrong, guys. So congratulations to you. We wouldn't be here without you. And in celebration of our birthday, our little film class, right? One of you tonight will... somehow take home our prize, limited edition Frankenstein Funko Pop. Keep it in the box, guys. It comes in a protective plastic box. I don't know if they all do. This is the first one I've ever had. But it looks fancy. I'm sure, like Beanie Babies, this is going to be worth a fortune in 85 years, maybe. So this is on the line. So here's what you got to do. You got to be... you got to use the chat. You got to be one of the first people to answer correctly. If we end up with some kind of tie, right, it's too close to call. I gotta follow up, keep us on our toes. So again, get ready. All right. This is a hard one. It's a real thinker. It's to see who's been paying attention and who's just, pretending to watch these movies. You're reading like IMDb summaries or something, thinking I didn't notice. I noticed. All right, so I keep clicking the chat. I keep touching the chat to move it away, just transparency, right? And then I have to click the PowerPoint again, otherwise it doesn't work. So here's our question. All right, get ready. Drum roll, virtual drum roll, because I can't drum roll and click. True or false? All right, get ready. It's true or false. You can do T or F. That's fine. That's fair. I'm a fair man. T or F? Here we go. True or false? When we say Frankenstein, this refers to the doctor, Victor Frankenstein. All right? I'd say 30 seconds. Get it in quick, guys. True or false? True or false? When we say Frankenstein, this refers to the doctor, Victor Frankenstein. All right. Let's see what we got. I'm taking a look at that chat. Taking a look. All right, I got some yeses. Mom and Dad, I'm going to assume you guys, you're being a little creative, but I'm going to take that as true. All right, so I've got Austin, true. Ryan, true. Mom and Dad, true. Lisa, true. Stefan says false. Lisa says true. Sharon, is that Baby T? Yeah, Baby T. All right, Everett, Baby T. Drake House says false. Austin, did you change your answer? No. Okay. But I don't know if I can count that. I don't know. It's okay. All right. Follow up. Because it's false, right? So you guys who said false, here's your follow-up. And some of you are like, Professor Movies, he doesn't know this movie at all. Okay, let's see. Follow-up, why? 30 seconds, why? One sentence or less, why? False, why? When we say Frankenstein, this refers to the doctor, Victor Frankenstein. 30 seconds.
I know the
answer. Mrs. Professor Movies is yelling from the other room that she knows the answer, and I've told her she cannot win this prize. That's cute, Drake House. That's cute. All right, Stefan. Congratulations, my man. You win. It's false because in this movie and Bride of Frankenstein is Henry Frankenstein. Don't ask me why. There is a Victor in this movie, but he's the guy who, I don't know, you get the sense that he's trying to like steal Elizabeth away or something. I don't know. There's a weird vibe in their first scene together where I'm like, what you doing, man? So yeah, Stefan, you win this. And actually that makes things a lot easier because I'll just send it to work with Dina and she'll either leave it on your desk or give it to you. Congratulations. Stefan, you are the winner. Other associated details with this. It's not Igor either in this movie, right? Yes, we like you a lot. It's not Igor, it's Fritz. It's only later on, several movies in, that we start saying Igor. Igor's not in the novel at all. Don't worry about him. But yeah, it's Henry and Fritz going on this whirlwind adventure through graveyards and, science labs everywhere. So thanks for playing, guys. Happy birthday, Talking Technophobia. Stefan, congrats. Don't worry, guys. We'll have more prizes, but not tonight, all right? The prize is just our company now. All right, continuing, because, yeah. All right, so Monsters Metaphor. All right, so here's kind of what I'm thinking. Technology is improving, right? And a lot of things are improving, and it's improving at an alarming rate very, very quickly. Moore's Law, right? With it, there is this increased fear that as we're making everything more efficient and better, that eventually that's going to get applied to us, right? We're going to try to use technology, science, right, to make ourselves better, right? Maybe the idea of the post-human, but there's a fear connected to it with the idea of like purifying all of the imperfections out of humanity on a genetic level even. And this kind of is connect, and you might think Nazi, right? But that's not where I'm going. I'm Nazi going to Nazi. Technological advancement through rushed experimentation worries people because of the unforeseen negative consequences. There's this fear, and it runs through all of our films, but like, let's go back to the beginning and see it here too. There's this fear that, technological advancement is in actuality a Pandora's box that is going to rot something in this world that cannot be undone, that cannot be put back, right? We'll finally go too far and we won't be able to put it back together, right? And with that, right, these things are kind of used as disruptions and affronts to the natural order. And we see that in this movie especially, but remind you Jurassic Park, right? That big storm comes to the island, right? Nature has been disturbed. Nature has been, violated, and it's coming to kind of reestablish the order, the balance. And that's in here too. I'm blocking stuff. So really Frankenstein and the monster in the movie really do kind of come to be a cultural reflection of both the American values and fears of our eugenics movement. And I'm talking pre-World War II. This is 1931, this movie comes out. Our eugenics movement was where we're like the calipers measuring people's brains. People immigrating into this country coming through Ellis Island are tested in English and given classifications based on their cognitive ability, right? Words like retard and moron, idiot, cretin, right? They grow out of a largely racist practice, right, from the 20s and 30s. You may not have heard about this because then World War II happened and the Holocaust and Mengele, right? And nobody really wanted to, be associated with eugenics anymore, right? This idea that we are defined by our natures, not nurture, right? It's our physical components that make us who we are. Some people are, better than others, right? Was kind of wiped out, right? It was kind of made to go away in a lot of our history in this country, right? Planned Parenthood largely grows out of it and is one of the remaining features of our original eugenics movement. Again, you look at our society today, like, I don't know, right? That whole nature-nurture debate is still going on. And this movie's like that. Finally, right, this film is condemning disabled people. It's saying they're not fit to live. Right, that's kind of the thing that's running through this, and I'm seeing it, and I'm gonna try to show it to you in a little bit as well. And yeah, abnormal, right? It's that abnormal brain, gene splicing. Yeah, I like it. All right, I don't know. Go look up eugenics. I had a buddy who was a history major his grad school, and he was writing about the American eugenics movement pre-World War II, and he was having a hard time finding things. So yeah, if you guys got any information, send them my way. I'll forward it to him so he can finally finish that master's, man. He's been working on it for like a decade. All right, let's get going then. All right, so mythology of mad science. And this is where it really becomes difficult that things block. You know what? I don't need to look at my own face. I know what I look like. Heavily influenced, as I said, by the early 1930s American cultural attitudes towards the eugenics movement. A lot of people would argue that Dr. Frankenstein and the idea of the mad scientist, that archetype, if you want to call it that, is a caricature of Joseph Mengele, right, the Nazi scientist. However, again, 1931, this movie comes out. So again, right, Mengele is doing what he's doing, these terrible experiments on people, right, probably during this time. And like, again, let's not kid ourselves, the people probably did know, right? The rumors probably did come out. I don't know, I wasn't there. But the mad scientist originally is a caricature of Nikola Tesla, right? Dr. Frankenstein in this movie is kind of a Nikola Tesla. And I've got thoughts about Tesla. I feel like we've talked about him before. And my favorite Nikola Tesla is obviously David Bowie Nikola Tesla from The Prestige. But yeah, there's that. But if we strip all of that away, the modern reflections of the time, at its core, this movie is Prometheus, right? And I don't mean Ridley Scott's Prometheus, because I don't actually know what I mean by that at all. But I mean mythological Prometheus. I can click on things. Creates humans, right? There are, you go back to Greek mythology, right? There's 3 races, right? I don't remember what the first 2 are made from, but Prometheus gets to make the 3rd, and he makes it from the earth. And that's us. We're that 3rd group that Prometheus made. Has nothing to do with actual race or skin color. We're talking about mythological, like, creatures kind of thing. So Greek mythology, we weren't the first things created, right? Blah, 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 blah. Prometheus is the one who creates man. He's our creator, right? He steals fire from Mount Olympus. He defies Zeus, right? And he gets punished for his transgression, right? For disobeying, right? Disrupting nature. But also Prometheus is again, according to the myth, right, the father of human technology, right? He gives us fire and the ability to create and control and maintain fire. A lot of critics will argue is that first, form of technology, right? Us using tools. The wheel, we saw the bone in 2001, I know, right? But yeah, fire is really that like primal elemental thing. Okay, so all right, time to talk. I'm getting tired. I need to take a break. In what ways do you guys see Prometheus stuff in this movie, right? So I told you who Prometheus was, in case you didn't know. What ways do you see Prometheus, or elements of it, reflections of it, echoes in this movie? And again, feel free, raise your hand or type in the chat. I would love to hear your voices. My students have to listen to mine all day. Take a moment. Prometheus, anybody? So Dr. Frankenstein, right? Everett saying creates life, right? Creates like a human, right? He's like, this body has not been dead. This body has never lived, right? It's sleeping. I'm going to bring it to life. Look, no blood. It's a new form of life, something he's pieced together himself. Yeah, right. He assembles the body. It's not a zombie, right? Frankenstein's monster, Frankie Jr., I'll call him that from time to time tonight, right? Like, not a zombie, right? Not even in the voodoo sense. He's that line, right, that we see here. Thanks, Ryan, right? I know what it feels like to be God is one of those cut content from this movie. Too provocative, too risque, right? Too transgressive. So it gets thunderclapped over. Also, what I did learn about Bride of Frankenstein is that film also went under heavy edits too, especially the ending. Just like our ending went under a lot of edits too. Okay. What else we got? I'm lonely, guys. Talk to me, please. His actions causes later torment. Absolutely. Thanks, Stefan. Great to point that out. Okay, Austin. Yeah, right. So yeah, right. That torment, right? He's kind of the architect of his own, his own pain, his own misery. Henry to Prometheus, right? Absolutely. He's mad with stealing the ultimate power of creation, right? Yeah, and he's like, where would we be if no one ever took any risks? Where would we be if no one ever wondered what lied beyond? I think is the exact quote. I like to paraphrase it, and it's like, here a moment ago you called me crazy. Here we sit, three very sane people, one crazy person, and in a moment we'll see who's right. And he says, where'd we be if nobody ever took risks? If nobody ever, pushed the boundaries, we wouldn't have gone anywhere. We wouldn't have advanced at all. Out of control ego, absolutely. We'll talk about hubris. But yeah, it's a part of it, right? That's probably his biggest flaw in this movie. That's probably the thing that makes him a tragic hero, if you want to go so far. That ego, right? That sense of like importance. Pandora's jar. I like it. Oh yeah, that's a good way to describe it. Sharon. Oh no, who said that? Everett. Thank you. Sharon just said something else. So when I looked again, it was different. Yeah, the brain's in the jar, right? And taking the brain out is kind of like Pandora's jar. I like that. Same time, risks, right? So again, this movie is very much concerned with like, at what point do you draw the line with taking risks, right? What are necessary risks? What are unnecessary risks? To what extent should we be careful and cautious? And to what extent should our own ethics and morality play with technological advancement? All right, so lovely, lovely. I see a hand. Yes, Lisa, allowed to talk. Go ahead, please.
Well, bad guys never think
Oh no,
they're
I
bad.
can't hear you.
Sorry, bad guys never think they're bad. They really don't. I mean, they think that what they're doing is justified. I mean, Darth Vader, for example, thinks he's doing, what he's supposed to be doing, protecting the democracy.
Mm-hmm. In my mind, it's the Jedi who are evil, right? That's what Anakin says.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
No, great. Everybody thinks they're the main character of the story. Everybody's the protagonist, right? Because it's you going through it. And your antagonist, right? Your villains, right? In their own mind, right? They're doing right by them, and it's often our different ethical sets that sometimes cause the conflict, right? Conflict is tension created by opposite forces, right? Sees that flowers float, and he thinks the girl will too. Yeah, no, that's true. Absolutely. Yeah, he does. He shirks his responsibility. And we'll get there next when we talk about some parenthood stuff, right? Because I think there's a father metaphor running through it. Hitchcock said, "We're the monsters," right? That he's constantly trying to show in his films, right? It's not spooky boogeymen. It's not things that go bump in the night, right? What's truly scary is humanity, right? The extent in which humans can go, the depravity we can do to each other, right? The callousness, the coldness, the apathy. I think that line has never been truer for me, especially in this movie, right? As I empathize with Frankenstein's creation, right? The monster. I feel bad even calling him that, right? With Frankie Jr., I empathize with little Frankie because he's like a little baby. He doesn't know any better, and he doesn't get a chance, and he's just picked on and bullied and tortured and then abandoned. It's all because they don't think he's good enough. He's got bad parts, right? It's that abnormal brain. Something not right with this guy. What could we do? So critics have said this movie, critics and professor movies have said this film, right? Monster kind of represents disabled person. I don't know. You could disagree. I'm again, right? I'm saying this with the most like empathy that I can, right, and compassion. But I'm saying what I see in the movie, right? I see a simple-minded monster that has not developed mentally yet. Maybe will if given the time, but has not, right? Adult body, right? Maybe childlike brain, right? Okay. I also see people with physical disabilities, right? Kind of portrayed in a negative way as well. And maybe you know where I'm going with this, maybe not. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you see any of this stuff with the disabilities thing? Someone please talk to me about the Hunchback and how you feel, or talk to me about, can you see the disabled aspect with the monster with Frankie Jr.? I'm sorry. Ryan says of Mice and Men, and I think that's a good text-to-text connection to make. Yeah, Austin's like, yo, it's Fritz. Fritz is the real monster. Yeah, going back to Ryan's comment, uh, Frankie Jr., because I feel terrible calling him the monster now that I've like made myself aware of it. I've got that self-awareness where I'm like, yo, that's messed up. Little Frankie Jr., right, reminds me of Lenny, right? There's something a little simple, right? He needs things maybe explained. He needs patience. He needs to be taught. And that's something he doesn't get in this movie. It's Fritz's fault, right? Everett's saying he uses the wrong brain. Sure. Not only does he get the wrong brain, right? He drops the thing. He's easily startled. So there's a level of like maybe superstition, right? I don't know. But he's easily startled. He drops the brain, and then he doesn't tell the doctor about it. He doesn't tell Henry like, oh yeah, I got the bad brain instead. So there's that. But then there's the actual like bullying that I see too, right? Like, why is the monster afraid of fire? Well, it's because of some stuff that Fritz is really doing with the fire originally. Yeah, right. Stop waving the torch in his face, right? Very good, Stefan. Abby someone, you're right. Abby someone. The experiment was a success. This is not a failure. Nor does the movie condemn Dr. Frankenstein. Don't get me wrong, guys. He's not the bad guy of this movie somehow. Any other movie, maybe he would be. Any other modern movie, the mad scientist would be. But it's not happening here in one of our first, mad scientist movies. Yeah, right. Our brain's bad is a great question to even think about. Like how do we is that again, it's nature versus nurture, right? It's saying that it's about the parts of our body. And I understand that it's both, right? It's about balance. There's somewhere in the middle. Society in this film behaves as such. Sure, Jamie. Yeah, new people, different races, religions, people who are different. You're right, right? People who look or act different. It's very easy to see the physical differences visually in this film, right? The differences are bad. Some people, right? It seems like the movie is saying, right? Don't deserve to live almost, right? Aren't entitled to basic human rights. So that's good. Doing a check to see if I got any hands. Anything else? Scared of new technology? Yeah, right. It's always because any change involves a loss, right?
I think
Who's needed?
it's me.
Go ahead, Sharon. Sorry.
Okay, I think this film showed how we treat people who think differently, and the interesting thing about the film is that it showed you how he thought to try to I think gain some compassion from the audience, because it's not his fault that he doesn't understand the difference between putting a flower on the water and throwing the girl in the water, because he equates the beautiful flower with the little girl. So he doesn't understand, and I don't think he understands why people are chasing him, and what he's unfamiliar with his surroundings and his ability to process things. So I think that's what the movie's showing. And also the guy with the hunchback, he has some how do I say, he is able to think when he's able to show, he knows right from wrong. Because at one point, I think when the guy was hanging, he was like, I don't think we should do this. Did he say that? I don't think we should do this, or it's
at that point, right, when he sees the monster, by that point when they find Fritz hanging, right, it's at that point where it's like, okay, Dr. Waldman, you're right. We have to euthanize him, basically, right? It needs to stop. But up until that point, Henry is no, right? The monster, Frankie, my boy needs time to develop. He needs to be taught, just like we all were, right? And I'm going to start by showing him the light. And there's some symbolism, right? Illumination, right? Enlightenment there. And that light is then taken away. And then in comes Fritz. And again, right? Fritz is the character in a horror movie. There's always that one who, it's the comeuppance character, right? It's the character you just can't stand, and you're like, I hope he gets killed first, right? And it's often the character's a jerk, the character's obnoxious, maybe they're abusive in some way, right? But often there's that character where you're almost rooting for them to get killed, right? And it's an archetype in in film. No, and Austin, I love a good Boys from Brazil reference. Very nice. Yeah, no, and right, you see him learning with the flower. You see him, you can almost see him like, oh, this is pretty, and it floats. Oh, this little girl is pretty. Maybe she'll float too. I think, I don't know if it was, somebody said to me, I don't know if it was my parents last night, somebody was saying to me, it's the parent, oh, maybe it was Mrs. Professor Movies. Maybe it's the parents' fault for not teaching that little girl to swim at that point. She's old enough, she should have. But we know where it's headed, I think. Even the first time I saw this, I was like, oh no. And again, symbolically, you don't kill a child in a movie because it often represents that there's no hope for the future, right? Children often are the future, right? You've heard the song. All right, all right. Yeah, like the lawyer from Jurassic Park, Lisa. Awesome, awesome example. Yes. No, it's not Geronimo. Gennaro, the lawyer. Yes, right. You're rooting for the T-Rex to eat him when he runs and leaves the children in danger. Absolutely. Topic 2. Chugging along because we're all really excited. We got a lot to say. Yeah, right. Like he also realizes he did wrong, right? There's like this, oh no, and he runs away after he throws a little girl in. So yeah, like he sees what he's done. All right, so I see like a father-son metaphor running throughout this movie, right? There's constantly the let's raise a glass. Here's to a son to the House of Frankenstein, right? Their wish at the wedding, you know, even after the wedding in the film's final scenes. There's this, the Baron von Frankenstein. Yeah, I know what's going on. There's another woman. And often when I watch this with people, it's at that point I turn to them and I go, yes, and her name is Science. It's Lady Science that he's having the affair with, right? Because he's like neglecting his fiance, his family, right? He's with because of science, right? And they make a baby, right? Him and Lady Science make a baby together, and it's little Frankie Jr. And then this deadbeat dad Henry walks out on him. Of course the kid's gonna be mad. Of course the kid's gonna like try to go find dad and see what's up. Why'd you leave me? You know, I thought you loved me. Right? Like, so there's this father-son metaphor running throughout. Like if you squint and turn your head, I guess. And with that, and we already kind of touched upon it before, Sharon went to get help. Maybe. Hubris. All right, and what hubris is, in case, you know, it's been a while since either psychology or mythology, extreme pride or arrogance, all right, too big to fail, all right, I can do no wrong, kind of being super conceited, but like we're talking different level. Often this indicates like that you've lost contact with reality, sorry to tell you. You overestimate your own abilities, your competencies, your accomplishments, and your capabilities, especially when it comes from a person who's in a position of power. You know, sounds like, you know, world leaders, you know, all throughout history, right? This hubris we see with them. And again, right, comes out of Myth of Icarus, right? There might be, you know, pre-written history, right? That's also, you know, in line with hubris. But when I look back, right, Icarus is the one that I can find basically the earliest. True, right? Yeah, right. A lot in the news recently, right? People in power, right? Abusing that power, thinking, you know, maybe they're untouchable because they're in the position of power and they are, you know, so wonderful. Similarities. I know. LMC Media. I got a timer going. Thank you. We got 15 minutes. Similarities. Anybody want to talk about Icarus at all? The next one is we talk about the ending and like what the film's message is, just to give you a hint. And we got 15 minutes. So does anyone want to say anything about Icarus? Again, a father-son story. All right. Again, flying too close to the sun. Consequences. Maybe, you know, as a creator, there's a responsibility to your creation. Okay. Chat, anybody? Hands? Going once. Going twice. Those wax wings, yeah, you never want to make your wings out of wax. There's some kind of like polycarbon alloy that is much better, heat resistant. It's good. He left medical school because he was too good for them. He was done with them. He had learned everything he was going to learn from them. They weren't up to his standards, right? He needed more, right? So he leaves the school. That's good. Dauntless, right? That's good. Don't fly too close. And again, right? Dr. Waldman and some other characters kind of try to warn Henry as well. no easy disconnect. Like, yeah. So yeah, it's harder to, kind of get rid of this son, right? The son to the House of Frankenstein than it is. Yeah, vibranium, probably lightweight, really resistant and strong. That's the way to go for all you Marvel fans out there. Vibranium, a lot better choice than, I guess, adamantium for flying. Although, yeah, let's leave it there. Let's not go off on the tangent. We don't have the time. The large tower, right? The height. Oh man, oh no, we went way too far. Hold on. I don't know how to go backwards. Okay, going backwards. Where are we? Okay, cool. It's problem solved, guys. Crisis over. Thanks for being there with me. I feel better. All right. So who can we blame? Who or what is responsible? What are the consequences? Think about it, because let's go to the final message, right? We're thinking about who is responsible. We had said Fritz. I don't know. Maybe that's putting too much on the little guy. But death is often a punishment in horror films. We got characters who die in this movie. We have a little girl. We have a hunchback. We have the previous generation, right? The old doctor, Dr. Waldman. Elizabeth gets attacked. We don't see it. She's alive at the end in the final scene. Okay. Henry gets attacked. We see it. Sure looks like that dude's back is broken, but we see him alive in the final scene. So what does the film say, right? Given the fact that it spares Dr. Frankenstein's life at the end. Again, originally he's dead at the end of this movie. In the original cut, he's dead. They ADR the line, no, look, he's okay. Let's get him home. And that shot where the Baron Frankenstein is making the toast with the maids and we see Henry and Elizabeth through the door is added there so you know, the audience, that they're alive. Right, so there's no question in your mind. But originally, not that. You shouldn't play God, but why not? Why not have the movie? Well, have him die then. All right, why let him live? Is it a fate worse than death? Does he have to live with the guilt? Is that his punishment? Again, Prometheus. I don't know if you know what happens to Prometheus. Prometheus doesn't die either. He's a titan. He's immortal. His experiment was insane. Please feel free. Ryan's got a thought. What's up, Ryan?
Yeah. So it's me. I'm also on Ryan's computer.
How you doing?
Hello.
Hi.
So at the end of the movie, like when they burn him in the windmill, like the crowd, like you start to feel bad for him because he's been sort of let out in the world. The monster's been let out in the world, and he didn't really have the proper learning or anything. That he maybe could have been a monster if he had not been abused by Fritz or whatever. And so you start
or given time, yeah.
But the crowd's not wrong for burning him because he killed a girl, and the fact that this thing got unleashed into the world without them knowing about it or understanding it, that doesn't make them wrong. I mean, objectively, they're not wrong for doing it. And you kind of want to be like, oh, they're a mob and they're doing something wrong. But I mean, they are basically ridding something that's killing children in their town. So
sure.
What I think is interesting is that maybe this, like, when you look at it backwards, then from the end of the movie to the front of the movie, if Dr. Henry Frankenstein was just explained to everybody what he was doing and like sort of had a little more input from the crowd the whole time, it wouldn't have. I mean, part of the whole, this is like goes into the ethics of science and like doing gene editing now and everything else people are doing and battles on ethics. Like he just bypassed all that. And a lot of the whole movie could have been avoided. And I think it's like a message that like, maybe if you're doing science experiments that could possibly go sideways, it helps to have the whole town on board. Like when you're doing them from the get-go.
That have an ethical concern.
Have ethical concern. You can figure these problems out before you because otherwise he's stealing brains in the night. Maybe he wouldn't have made the mistake with the wrong brain jar. He would have just done it in front of 100 people. And they would have been like, no, take it. Like, that's just sort of a message if you look at the movie in reverse order. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that
Go ahead, Jamie.
I think that Dr. Frankenstein is the monster, not his junior.
But then the monster survives. The monster wins if the doctor's the monster, right? Like this movie has the worst ending possible, right? It's not. It's a really downer ending, right? Because the bad guy wins, gets to have his pretty new wife and his nice life, gets away. There's no punishment then, right? And like when a movie doesn't punish a character like that, the movie is suggesting that maybe he didn't do as much wrong as like we might be thinking. So I think, yeah, like the ideas around the ethics, and I really like the thought about how this can't be done in secret. It reminds me of like the scene in the school, right, where we're seeing the teacher, right, talking about the body, teaching the other people, right? Like that's the difference. It's out in the open versus Dr. Frankenstein's alone. He's secluded. He's isolated. He's doing this, and he's in an echo chamber, right? It's just his own ideas. And again, right, going back to what Drakehouse said about like how crazy the experiment is. Yeah, he's like, I've discovered the ray of light that brought existence to this planet, not the X-ray, not the, gamma ray. I've discovered the ray of creation, right? The Big Bang or something, right? And again, right, like creation, right? God, the concept of that. No lesson learned. So yeah, right. It's very much Austin, the sitcom model, right? Where like if we reset and we go to the next movie, right? And it just keeps having sequels and spin-offs and all that and reboots even, because he's never gonna get it. I guess that tells us something about like how we're not gonna stop technological advancement. Without checks and balances, horror can occur, Sharon. You're absolutely right. I think that's important because him not being killed, I think really is kind of suggesting, right? It's not taking risks that's bad. It's not pushing the boundaries that's bad. It's rushing that's bad. It's not being a caretaker or a parent to your creation, to your invention. I'm very much, again, thinking about the secret stuff, I'm very much reminded of the Doomsday Machine in Dr. Strangelove, right? What's the point of having one if you don't tell anyone? Oh, you do see Sunday. Very nice. Yeah, she's there. She's here in spirit with us. She's cheering you guys on. So yeah, right? Like maybe then the message kind of suggests, especially since he lives, it's what he's doing isn't completely wrong. It is that check and balance that's needed. It is the foresight and the supervision, right? Both before, during, and after. You can't rush it, right? Where would we be if we didn't take risks? Well, I think we see it in this movie, right? Here's where we end up when we do take risks. All right, so wrapping it up, here we go. Finally, what does this movie say about technological advancement? Oh, I want to say one thing about the windmill, just because if I don't talk about the windmill, I'm gonna feel really sad. Yeah, it's beautiful, right? The symbolism of that thing. All right, so think about it. It's all technology. It's like 3-4 levels of technology happening in that shot. We have the new technology. We have Frankie Jr., right? The monster. In a windmill, a form of older technology. Both being destroyed by the primary technology, the foundational technology, fire. All right, blows my mind when I see it. I also love the shot in the windmill when Frankie Jr. and Dr. Henry square off, and the thing is turning in between them, and the shots, we see the doctor with the wheel turning and the shadows on his face, and then we have a reverse shot to the monster, same setup, right? And like the mirroring of each other really does, again, emphasize this is your son almost, right? Like you made this. You guys are more similar than different. And then finally, there is death in every scene of this movie up until the creation of Frankenstein's monster, Frankie Jr. Like that opening shot in the graveyard, Dr. Frankenstein shovels dirt right into the face of the Grim Reaper, right? The statue. There's a shot with they go talk to Dr. Waldman in his office, surrounded by these skulls. The skeleton in the classroom. It's like death is present in all of these scenes, and we're told in the beginning, right before the movie even starts, this is a movie about life and death and what lives beyond. Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror. He's seeing himself. That's awesome. It's amazing. I love it. So Nature or nurture? Feel free to think what the movie's saying about this, because I think it's less straightforward than we might have initially thought at the beginning with all the eugenics stuff, right? I think it isn't as straightforward. But also, what else could this be saying about like taking risks, pushing the boundaries? All right. This is our last topic. We have 9 minutes, technically 8 now, because we started 5 minutes late. So I waited. You should wait for me. All right. What do we think? Nature and nurture in this movie? Both? Balance? One over the other? This film has a lot of good filmmaking in it, right? The Grim Reaper, face full of dirt, spitting on the death. Yeah, right. He's disrespecting the natural order, right? He's John Hammond making dinosaurs from dino DNA and frogs and stuff, right? He has no respect for the laws of nature. And it's saying that some laws should not be broken. Some things should not be pushed so far. All right, I'm going to do one check for hands. And now we're going to go to our final thoughts. Makeup was surprising. Okay, there's that goofy. I mean, I think the Zoom GIF that you guys are seeing, there's like one goofy shot when the monster first reveals, and it feels goofy now the way the zooms happen, but I really do think it was really to show off like how good the monster looked, how good the makeup was. But it's that's like one of the awkward like actual filmmaking choices where I'm like, huh, it's a weird way to do that. But yeah, if you're going against this, I'm not gonna read that out loud. If you're going against a sitting president, be sure you are right. In short, don't mess with death. Yeah, no, absolutely. When you push the scientific envelope, you don't know how it's gonna affect the other world, right? You know, come on, Ian Malcolm, right? Just because you could, you never stop to think if you should. Again, all of these movies, like pretty much our first 2 seasons, they're all growing out of this. I like Frankenstein almost as much as I like Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times. But I like Frankenstein a lot. And it's because it's a part of all of our movies. Like all of the modern movies as a kid I loved growing up. I go back and I see original Frankenstein and I'm like, oh, this is why I like it, right? It's because of these things here. And it's been built into our culture, right? Since the 30s, since the Great Depression. All right, when you push the envelope, I like that. All right, let's try to end on a happy note. Final thoughts, last words. We can unmute or type in the chat. What are we thinking? Again, you don't have to answer that question necessarily, but anything you want to talk about that we didn't talk about, anything you want to share. You got a killer Dr. Henry Frankenstein impression you want to break out on us? I'll listen. It's got to be short though, but I'll listen. Think of what came from his experiment. He brought a heart back. You're right, because he didn't just start with the human. He keeps a heart beating. I think he brings an animal back. Maybe if he worked more, he could have saved the girl too. Go ahead, Ryan or Greg or Jamie.
It's me. I was going to say I was surprised at how good the acting was. I mean, Boris Karloff's a great actor, and as clunky as the movie is in a 1931 style and with the painted sets and everything, like he actually conveyed a lot of emotion without ever saying a word in the movie. And I was just impressed at the actual acting skill that came out of a 1931 movie.
Yeah. No, I know, and me too. And I was such a modern film snob when I was growing up, where it's like, ugh, this was made before I was born. I don't want to watch it. Yeah. Right, oh, this is in black and white. This is a silent movie. You know, like all of those things. I just kind of like had this like unrealized bias and prejudice against. And then like, you know, I took the time and I appreciated it. And this movie's great. Like the jokes I make about the backdrops aside, you know what I mean? Like it's got a lot going on. A lot of talent. No wonder it made so much money. Put it on the Ritz, absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, right, inspires parodies and all that other stuff. Ryan, you want to say?
Yeah. Kids today, with people in my generation, are basically the same. You know, if it doesn't have, if 90% of it isn't CGI, they're not watching. They don't really like.
The children are the future, guys.
Most kids I talk to usually, I mean, I'm not, better, but like, it's not better or worse that this is the case, but
yes, you are.
Yeah, I'm better. True. I'm actually functionally.
Stefan says he is.
Now, Jamie, there's a healthy level of confidence, and you just don't want to push them into hubris territory, right?
Yeah.
But go ahead, Ryan, continue.
Yeah, but most people I try to talk to about, I guess just like make small talk about movies and stuff. It's usually like when I ask them about the type of movies they're watching, it's usually like, yeah, whatever's good, whatever's on nowadays, and Marvel movies, and which is nothing wrong with it, but like I guess it just sort of just exactly what you said. Yeah.
Nobody spoiled WandaVision, but like bring in that White Vision stuff. I guess spoilers for episode 8 at least. That White Vision, right? Very much a Frankenstein-y thing happening there. So maybe the CGI, maybe we'll find a way to tell a decent Frankenstein story soon in the modern lens. But I think we've got a lot that comes before it. I know I'm trying to get to Sharon. Yeah, Sharon, let's talk to me about the ladies, because we should. Go ahead.
Unmute. Okay. Well, they were all damsels in distress or dancing, and the men had all the strong parts. They were in control. They were the fiance couldn't read the note. Oh, I just can't read it. And and the little girl.
A lot of this.
Yeah, didn't know how to swim, but I would think around that time, if you're around water, you probably know how to swim. So
that's what I'm saying. Why didn't they teach that girl to swim?
But it was the 30s. It was the 30s.
That's true. That's true. I mean, they had a lot of problems in the 30s. A lot to worry about. I'm sure you didn't have time to teach people to swim all the time. I tried to type a response. Yes, I saw it. But things are happening in the chat really quickly, and I'm quickly losing all way to like follow any kind of thought. Yeah, don't leave the guy is okay. So right, we have terrible parents in this movie. Baron Frankenstein, I think, is an example of a good parent, right? The good father in the movie. He gets his son, right? He brings him home because he sees him in distress. He finds him lying on the floor, right? Oh, I'm taking you home then. You got to rest. You got to recuperate. It's less of a selfish reason. He wants his kid to get married so he can stop working so hard and, he can have a grandson or something. I really think he's the good father in the movie. Dr. Waldman is another father figure, but not supportive, right? He doesn't even want to hear Henry's ideas because they're different, they're new, right? They're not what he knows. He's certain, right? And you're not going to change his mind, that closed mindset. Don't abandon your creation, right? You make a bomb, don't leave your bomb out and go out on vacation because someone's going to find your bomb, or someone's going to knock over your bomb, or someone's going to take your bomb and use it as a weapon. Gojira. Think about, I forget his name now. I'm not going to try. Think about the mad scientist in that, Mr. Eye Patch. He made sure that no one could ever use his oxygen destroyer device to hurt others, right? That's that level of responsibility that's sort of missing from most of this movie with Dr. Frankenstein. Once his creation follows him home and threatens his woman, right? His damsel in distress. Sharon's right. It is not very empowering of the females in the movie. But once your woman is threatened, then you'll do something, right? Because to protect her. And there's a lot of World War I, World War II propaganda, right, around that idea, right? Like, fight the enemy, otherwise your women will be in danger. Otherwise your children will be in danger. And there's that, right? Your women and your children are in danger because of what has been unleashed. But it wouldn't have been unleashed if the creator had taken a little more responsibility for it. Dr. Serizawa, thank you, Ryan. Very good, very good. Like I said, it's been a long week. Awesome, guys, awesome. Oh man, 1 minute over. I'm gonna get in trouble. Okay, they're gonna take away my LMC parking pass. All right, let's I don't have one, guys, so they can't take it away, don't worry. Let's wrap up then. Guys, thank you as always. You have been a wonderful discussion group, a wonderful group of human beings. And just, you know, great people all around. Thanks for being a part of this as we start our 3rd season. Honestly, I did not ever imagine we'd still be doing this 3 years later, but I'm enjoying the ride, and I hope you are too. Thank you for sharing your ideas. Thank you for listening to each other. I apologize as always if I didn't get to call on you or talk about your idea, if it got missed. I'm sorry. There's a lot going on. I live on Zoom now, and you think I'd be better at it, but sometimes this is too fast, too much. The programmer here, has the final say. Thank you, Drink House. Thank you, guys. All right, cool. All right, so let's then think about what we're going to do next time. I've got next time season 3 in July. Monsters and Madmen. I'm gonna tell you the magic word, and the magic word is cheeseburger. That's totally from the movie. Watch it again. I know it is. That's why I said it. All right. So July 9th. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Let's talk about another mad scientist. This time he's maybe his own monster. The remake of The Fly, 1986. Cronenberg, body horror, definitely monsters and madmen. Maybe about some other stuff too. I've got ideas, Stefan, if you need suggestions for a cartoon, but you know, as always, I love seeing what you come up with. All right, guys. So send me your suggestions, right? But thank you again for being a part of it. I'm just running out of time now, so I'm trying to rush it all in. You can follow us on social media. Those things are there.